Okay, so I just came back from locals. So I just uploaded my Armor Rush deck for BT-14. I gotta say I was wrong about something. I came back from locals, but before I went to locals, I was heavily debating on whether or not I should include the DeathXmon after all, because I was like, it's a nice tech card, but is it actually necessary for the deck? So, spoiler alert, it is absolutely still very good in this format. It is amazing in this format, even. So, much better than it was even in last format. So, I readjusted the deck. I made some quick changes right before locals. But yeah, let me actually go through the deck version that I'm actually happy with. So, go to the timestamp in the descriptions if you want to check out segments of the video, but if not, I figured that would be fun to actually do the part by part reveal that I didn't do in the last video. So let's get to it. So again, rush deck, so 5 eggs is pretty standard. 4 Wanyamons from BT-11. When attacking once per turn, if you have a blue Tamer in play, draw 1. This deck uses so many blue Tamers that it will be very easy to trigger that when attacking draw 1 effect. So 4 Wanyamons. Wanyamons are currently the best blue egg for the deck for drawing. And then 1 Upamon from BT1. When attacking once per turn, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards, draw 1. If you don't have this Upamon, then you can also use the BT10 Bebidomon. So Bebidomon, when attacking once per turn, if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon, draw 1. Upamon is just more preferred because chances are very good in this format that if your opponent has at least 2 Digimon out, 1 Digimon is just a floodgate, so it will most likely have no sources underneath, or it's going to be a searcher rookie that they just play and then search for something. It probably will not have sources underneath. So with the Bebidomon, the chances are slightly less likely that they will have 2 or more Digimon out. But if they did, then one of them is most likely going to be a searcher of no sources, or it's going to be, I said something else, but I already forgot. A floodgate with no sources. So, they're pretty interchangeable. If you don't want this Upamon, you can also go with the Bebidomon from BT10. But who knows? In your locals at your meta, then they could just do something with 2 stacks going on at once. But I would say the best egg is definitely Wanyamon. Upamon or Bebidomon for the 5th egg. Okay, so let's get into the fun reveal. 4 copies of BT-12 Vmon. So BT-12 Vmon's still very good. Reveal top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Imperial Dramon in its name or the free trait, and 1 card with Davis Momiya in its name among them to your hand. Bottom deck the rest in any order. End of turn, you can DNA Digivolve this Digimon with one of your other Digimon. But there's currently no DNA Digivolving in this deck. So mainly you just play this. You are playing so many Davis in name cards. You are playing 9. So Wanyamon is very easy to trigger just because you're playing 9 blue Tamers. Vmon is also pretty easy to grab Davis because basically 1/10, just shy of 1/10 of your deck is Davis. And mostly your deck is just free. So you will most likely grab something with this Vmon. Chances are pretty good that you will grab 2 things. Jamming Vmon. So 4 of the Jamming Vmon. It's just really good at getting the checks in. And I was wrong. You don't really want to play this deck like the previous build with many Fire Rockets and Unsuspend effects. They are nice, but after I actually playtested this deck out, I realized that the Ukomon, you just really want to bring this Jamming Vmon out right away and then swing with it very often and very early. So you don't really need the unsuspending fire rocket combo as in the last format. Pretty much this is just really great. You just push out a raising, swing with this right away. So honestly, as I tested the deck out, I didn't really find fire rocket and armor texture that necessary. 4 promo VMons. So these are just really good. Your turn, once per turn, when this Digimon would Digivolve into a card with a free trait. If you have a Tamer, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. You are playing 9 blue Tamers, and you are playing 4 Louis, so you have 13 Tamers. Very high chance of you being able to reduce cost by 1. So, basically it's better than the EX1 VMon instead of gaining 1 memory when it becomes unsuspended as an inheritable effect. This, you will be able to go into your level 4s, excluding Lanamon, for just 1 cost less. So instead of gaining a memory later, you just reduce cost by 1. So this is better than the EX1 VMon just because that VMon has more hoops and hurdles that you have to go through. This one is just really easy to Digivolve for 1 less. When attacking, if this Digimon has 2 or more colors, draw 1. This is not once per turn. So if you are able to attack with an armor form and then draw 1, that armor form is purged. So you go back to this VMon, you go into a different armor form, unsuspend with Davis and Ken, and then attack again. Or if you go into Magnemon, unsuspend, and then attack, you'll still be able to draw 1. So this drawing effect is very good. 2 ST8 VMon, still very good for the deck. I'm not playing any Ulforce Veedramons in this deck, so the your turn effect, it can warp to Ulforce, is irrelevant in my build. But, when attacking, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, trigger draw 1. So this is just better. It serves the purpose of Starter Deck 8 VMon, but better, because now you don't have to have 7 or less cards. You can just draw pretty easily if you have an armor form over on top of this, or a Chimeramon on top of this. But since this is maxed out, I figured, just running these 2, so you can still also get some extra draw power, is still very good for the deck. There was something. Most of the time you will have 7 or less cards in hand anyways, just because the amount of Tamers that you play, you will keep losing cards in hand. So most of the time your hand will be 7 or less. But honestly, this actually works. You don't have too big of a hand size most of the time, but because of your drawing effects, your searching effects, your drawing inheritables, you will keep replenishing your hands, although your hand will not be bigger than maybe like 5, 6 cards at a time. Since you are playing cards, drawing more cards, searching more cards, then it's actually very sustainable, even if your hand size is not a big count. And of course, to finish off the rookies, for Ukamon. Ukamon is just really good. Your turn, once per turn, when one of your Digimon moves from the breeding area to the battle area, you may hatch in the breeding area, then gain 1 memory. So all of these rookies are able to Digivolve off of your eggs for 0 cost. Even Ukamon, because Ukamon Digivolves from any level 2 for 0. The cool thing about Ukamon is that when you push Ukamon out, it has been ruled that Ukamon sees itself coming out, so it does see a Digimon moving from breeding area to battle area. So it will hatch so you are allowed to hatch an egg, and then you gain 1 memory. So this will really accelerate you pushing VMons out, and even Ukamons out. So you push out, you hatch an egg, you gain 1. So you gain some extra tempo every time you hatch, and since you are able to hatch another egg, and then you can then Digivolve that and then push out next turn, so you are being able to promote a full turn earlier than before too. Now to the level 4s. 4 copies of Lydramon, still very good for the deck. It is a blue and green Digimon, so if you reveal this with the BT-3 Davis, you can grab this as a green Digimon, you can grab any of your other blue Digimon as a blue Digimon. So when you get that Davis out, grab this, grab a different Digimon, so you will get more card advantage because of this. This is also green, so Davis and Ken will give you that 1 for it being green, 1 for it giving blue. So you will be able to get more card advantage if revealed by Davis, BT3, or get more memory start of your main phase for having this out because it's blue and green, so you get, you know, some extra memory, which is very nice for this deck. I was playing this at locals and I was just gaining 4 memory a turn, 6 memory a turn. It was really good. I didn't fully talk about Lydramon yet, so let me actually finish. So it has Armor Purge. All of your armor forms have Armor Purge in this deck. 1 Digivolving suspend while if your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So if your opponent has a Floodgate, or if they have a small little champion or rookie, then you can still swing over it, which is pretty nice. You can also suspend a blocker. It has not come in handy tonight, but it can be used if you're facing against Fenrir Lugamon, for example. They play out some Foscamon blockers. But if you can suspend a blocker, you can suspend a Digimon that you want to swing over. Pretty nice effect. Flamedramon, very nice. Armor Purge, when attacking, this Digimon gets plus 3000 DP for the turn. So this deck doesn't really focus as much on being able to be Armor Purged and then Digivolve again and then unsuspend and then attack again. You can do that, but I removed that focus from this deck. With the new Ukumons and the Louis, the deck's main focus is just to push out Vmons, go into your armor, and then attack. So that's the main focus of this deck now, so it plays very differently from the last version. Yeah, this is good. You can, when attacking, get 3000 DP, so it's now 8000 DP. You can beat over most... megas. No. Yes, ultimates. You can beat over most ultimates with this. So just swinging, if your opponent's level 5 is 8000 DP or lower, you can either tie with them and then Armor Purge, or you can just swing over them. So that's very nice. If this does end up being Armor Purged, and then you go into Lydramon or Magnemon or a different Flamedramon, unsuspend, it will retain that 3000 DP. So if you go into a different Flamedramon, for example, so the first Flamedramon attacks, plus 3000 DP for the turn. Second Flamedramon unsuspends, attacks, plus 3000 DP for the turn again. So it would be 11,000 DP swinging at your opponent's Digimon or security. And then just 4 Magnemons. It just makes so much sense. So 4 Magnemons from BT8. Blocker, Armor Purge, Digivolves 3 from Vmon. When Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon, it gains plus 2000 DP for each armor form that I have in the trash. For each armor form that you have in the trash. So, you know, these are... I'm only playing 12 armor forms. So the DP can go high, but most likely you don't really need it to go that high anyways. This is good as a blocker, just in case your opponent has lethal and you just want a blocker out, or just being able to unsuspend to be able to attack again. So armor texture isn't really as necessary. If you end up being Armor Purged, you can just go into this Magnemon and then attack again. And if you have a Davis and Ken, then you can just go into any of your armors and then unsuspend and then attack again. Armor texture isn't really as necessary, so is neither Fire Rocket, because Fire Rocket, you can give your Digimon security attack +1, but because of the pace at which you're pushing rookies out, you don't really need the extra security attack. So I removed the armor textures and Fire Rockets. And then the last 2 champions of the deck, technically this is not considered a champion because hybrids are not champions, but this is Lanamon. So the last 2 level 4s of the deck are 2 copies of Lanamon. So Digivolves 2 from level 3, blue, Or you can digivolve this from one of your blue Tamers. When digivolving, by placing one blue level 3 Digimon card from your hand as the bottom Digivolution card of one of your blue Digimon, this Digimon gains jamming for the turn. So if you are Soride, and then your Magnamon loses its source, or your Lydramon or Flamedramon loses their sources, when you digivolve onto your blue Tamer into Lanamon, since it is from a Tamer, has a source, and then you can place a blue rookie under one of your other Digimon, so then it would have a source, and then now that Digimon can attack. So that's pretty nice. You can also place Promovimon underneath one of your armor forms for that draw. So yeah, you can just pick, oh cool, I need to attack, I've been Soride, I don't have a source underneath, digivolve into Lanamon, put a source under, and then attack. Or you can use Lanamon with Chimeramon to go for DNA digivolve for the extra swing. I already mentioned it, just one copy of Chimeramon. I think that just one is good. Before I was running 2 copies of Chimeramon, but because, again, with the pace at which you are pushing rookies out, you are going to get more swings than the last build. So, you don't really need Chimeramon as much. It is still very nice to have in case it does come up. So if you have an armor form and then you swing and then it lives, you go into Lanamon and then gives itself jamming, you swing and it lives, you just need one more check, go into Chimeramon to close out the game. So, this is still very nice for the deck in case you need that one extra swing. And the nice part about it is that it costs 0 memory to DNA Digivolve. So even if, you were at 2, and then you go into Lanamon, now you're at 0, you attack, and then now your opponent has 0 security cards, 0 blockers, but you have no more memory, you can just go into Chimeramon. Very great for the deck, honestly. But again, you don't really need more than 1. So, you can use 2, but you would cut something else out. I just like having the 1 Chimeramon. I did try the deck with 2 Chimeramons, but I think that 1 is plenty good. And then the last Digimon of the deck, 4 DeathXmons. So when I made the video before, I was like, oh yeah, DeathXmon is a nice tech card. So I considered taking it out, but after I took it out and I play tested, it was just not as good as it was before. DeathXmon is just amazing for the deck. So, in this format especially, now that there are more swarm decks out there, so Ukumon is very popular as of late, so there are more Ukumon decks that push Digimon out. So even against like a mirror match, DeathXmon is amazing. There's Jesmon more rampant now because of the unrestriction of Savior Huckmon from BT-6. So now that Jesmon is more popular again, there's more Jesmon decks that play out Sistermons for free, so they're just swarming the field with many Sistermons, or Fenrir Lugamon playing out many Digimon from trash for free. Soon to be Anubismon playing out Digimon from trash for free, but basically there's just so many decks that flood the field now. DeathXmon is my answer in this meta. So, I don't really like Megadeth. You get rid of 1 Digimon, so you could avoid lethal, but DeathXmon is just more useful, just because instead of getting rid of 1 Digimon, if my opponent is rushing me down, I would love to clear their board or just hinder them more than that. So this is my personal call. I want to use 4 DeathXmons, but if you want to use Megadeth or something else, you can use other removal options instead. But I'm also going to show you some cards that you are able to remove pretty easily, and this deck will still function nearly the same. Two BT-3 Davis. So still very good. Start of your turn, if you have 2 memory or less, set your memory to 3. Also, when this is played, you can grab a blue Digimon and a green Digimon from the top 3 cards of your deck. So you have 4, 8, 12, 10, 14, 18, 22, 24 blue Digimon. So half of your deck is just blue. And also, if you reveal Lydramon, you can grab a Lydramon and something else that's blue in your deck. So you can grab Davis. You can use Davis to grab Lydramon as green Digimon and one of your remaining blue Digimon. So this is pretty nice. You will most often use this, grab a blue Digimon. So, you don't really need the blue memory boost. The Davis is basically what... no, not the blue memory. Well, yeah, you don't really need blue memory boost or blue training, because Davis just helps you if you're in a pinch and you need a rookie, or if you want to look for a champion, then you can just play Davis, grab whatever rookie or champion you need. So this, you don't really need the trainings or the memory boost if you have this Davis. 3 of the BT-8 Davis and Ken. So just being able to get that 1 extra memory is pretty nice. This deck, again, you don't really want to armor purge and security check. You kind of want your Digimon to live, but this Davis is nice. For example, if you have this Vmon, you attack with it with jamming, most likely it will live. You go into your armor form, that's Lydramon or Flamedramon, suspend this, unsuspend your Digimon, and then attack again. So, this is pretty nice for just getting you an extra swing. But this will just, most of the time, just give you an extra memory at the start of your turn. Start of your main phase, I mean. And then 4 copies of Promo Davis. So 3 costs. Start of your main phase. If you have a Digimon with the free trait, gain 1 memory. So all of your Digimon, except for Lanamon, DeathXmon, Chimeramon, have the free trait. So, it's pretty good chances of you having a free trait Digimon at the start of your main phase. Of your free trait Digimon, 14 Vmon, and then 4 Ukamon. So you have 18 rookies. So if you have a rookie in raising, you push out, then you are guaranteed to just get the memory from the Davis Modemia. So on play effect, activate one of the following effects. You may play 1 Vmon from your hand without paying the cost. So most of the time, if I have a Vmon, I would just play this Davis, play out the Vmon for 0. So 3 to use Davis, 0 for Vmon. I can now have a Vmon in play. And then start of every other turn, if I have a free trait out, start of every main phase, then I would just gain 1 memory. And this is insane with the amount of memory that you can gain with this deck. The drawback to using this Davis, I would say, is that it lowers your hand count, which is mitigated from this promo Vmon and this starter deck 8 Vmon, just so they can keep drawing and over again. But if you have this, it could lower your hand count, and it definitely will. But it will also count as a tamer on field, so when your opponent DeathXmons you, then they can reduce more of their play cost. So this is bad if your opponent is running DeathXmon, but if they don't have DeathXmon, then it's more good than it is bad. I would say that even if they run DeathXmon, this is arguably still really good to get onto the field anyways. For Louis Owada, so on play, you may move one of your level 3 or higher Digimon from the breeding area to the battle area. So this is 3 cost, but your turn when one of your Digimon moves from the breeding area to the battle area. By suspending this tamer, gain 1 memory. So if you have a rookie in raising, most likely it's going to be a rookie. You then play this for 3, you bring the rookie out, you suspend this, you gain 1 memory back. So you are now being able to bring your Digimon out a turn earlier than it normally would have been able to be brought out. Since it was hatched, even if it's hatched that turn, it wasn't played. so you can still attack with it, similar to the BT-1 Mimi ruling. But yeah, this Louis is very good. Just being able to get your Digimon out for a net cost of 2, because you can suspend right away, and then you can just aggro your opponent a full turn earlier. Even better is that from every turn later on, when you promote your Digimon, you can suspend Louis. So immediately you can get a Digimon out for 2, but on later turns you can just get a bunch of memory off of this Louis. So what's good about this Davis Momiya is that because it doesn't have any need to suspend, same thing as this Davis, but you can easily Lanamon on top of the Davis promo or Lanamon off of the Davis Momiya promo with no detriment. So these, at least you can stack these Davis and Kens, so you can get more memory the more that you have. But if you already have one Davis Monomiya out BT3, and then you already then you can just Digivolve off of one of these. But if you're closing the game, like you need to suspend for the Davis and Kens, most likely if you have this Davis out, it will be unsuspended. So you can just easily hybrid and then swing for game. So if you wanted to run some Megadeth or some other removal options, I honestly do not want to touch this rookie lineup. The rookie lineup seems really good to me. You could arguably remove some armor forms, but again, I would love to keep all 12 of these armor forms. If you had to make a cut for Megadeth or some similar removal option, I would honestly say, oh yeah, you don't really need 4 Louis. You can make do with like 2 or 3 Louis. 4 is nice to me because I just want more consistency and reliability in getting Louis. So you might not be using Louis all the time, but it is nice that you are able to see Louis more frequently, so then you can play Louis earlier, push your Digimon out earlier. So to me, I like 4 Louis just so then I'm able to play Louis earlier, get my Digimon out earlier, and get more memory over the course of the game. Same thing for this Davis Momiya. You don't really need to play 4, but with the same reasoning, I just want 4 so then I can get this Davis out sooner, so that over the course of the game I can get more memory. But I can see you taking away a Louis and a Davis if you want to add in 2 Megadeths, or maybe 2 and 2 of each if you want to add in a Megadeth, or even Davis and Ken, because in this build Davis and Ken isn't as necessary as in my other build. So I would also say that Davis and Ken is a flex spot. So if you wanted to add in Megadeth, I would say get rid of a Louis, possibly get rid of a Davis Momiya, or get rid of a Davis and Ken, or even get rid of 2 Louis if you don't really like the Louis strategy, or get rid of 2 Davis Momiyas. But if it were up to me and then I had to cut something for 2 Megadeths, I would just get rid of a Louis and get rid of a Promo Davis, just so they can have more removal. It occurs to me that there's also Ace Digimon now. I just forgot about Zudomon Ace when I was making this deck, but if you wanted to, again with like the flex cards, I would say that at least 1 Louis is a flex, at least 1 Davis promo is a flex card. So if you wanted to, you can just replace 1 and 1 with a Megadeth or a Zudomon Ace or another Chimeramon or another hybrid, basically whatever you want. But I just love this deck at the moment. The 14 Vmons, 4 Ukamons, 12 armor forms, 2 hybrids, 1 Chimeramon, 4 DeathXmon, 2 Davis Momiya BT3, 3 Davis and Ken BT8, 4 Louis, and 4 Davis Promo, and then of course the 4 Wanyamons and 1 Upamon. I would say that this is, close to perfection for me. Like this deck, I just love it as it is. I would not change much about this deck in its current form. Um, yeah, I don't really need the fire rockets after playtesting. Fire rockets, oh cool, you can pay 1 for extra security check, but again, with the sheer number of rookies that you're pushing out, you don't really need to rely on that strategy. I'm not saying that's a bad strategy, but for this deck with the Ukamon and Louis include, it just plays very differently than the previous build. So you don't really need fire rockets. You don't really need to unsuspend as much. Therefore, because you don't really need fire rockets, you don't really need to unsuspend as much. I took away the armor textures just to make space for the 4 DeathXmons after all, because DeathXmon is still very good this format. And 1 Chimeramon, just because it didn't feel right to play the deck without any Chimeramon. So when I took all the Chimeramons out, when I was playtesting, there was a game where I was like, oh yeah, I kind of wish that I had the Chimeramon actually, because now I can win this turn, but now I can't. So, you just don't get the game. But I would say if you want to remove a Davis promo or a Louis promo or both, you can add in another Chimeramon, or you can add in 2 Megadefs, or any other flex card that you like. But this deck is very close to perfection for me, so I'm mostly keeping it as is. So let's talk about my matchups. So today at Locals, it was a 3-round tournament. There were a lot of people, but the pair down loss. Surprise, I was the pair down. But yeah, round 1 I was playing against Jesmon, and they swarmed the field with so many Sistermons. And I was so happy that I added the DeathXmon to my deck, before the actual local tournament. I was so heavily debating, should I run fire rockets and armor textures so that I can get more aggro early, or should I play DeathXmon so that I can avoid lethal? And DeathXmon can also aggro for you because it's usually a cheap body that can come out, and then 15,000 DP, it's very large, it can go over most Digimon. But yeah, I was like debating, do I want to go slightly more aggro for, an extra security attack, extra check, or do I just want 4 DeathXmons like Chimeramon so that I can be well protected in case my opponent is swarming me, or if they have some blockers or whatever. But my opponent had so many Systemons out. The Systemons had blockers. So, I was going to die next turn. So I was like, oh, yes, DeathXmon time. It's just so good, this format, just because there's so many swarm decks. But yeah, DeathXmon comes in very clutch against Jesmon decks. Yeah, and then basically for the rounds that we played, DeathXmon just came in clutch. So, 4 DeathXmon seems excessive, but for my flex spots, I just love running 4 DeathXmons just because it handles what the deck doesn't like better than other cards do. So, I couldn't get past their Systemons because they had blocker. They had so many Systemons, so next turn I was facing lethal, and I don't think that there's a comparable option for me other than using DeathXmon. So I could Sorai them, but then Sorai would just stall their Systemons for a turn. I would be able to trash some cards from their Jesmon, but not enough. So then it would, I believe, still be able to attack. 5, 4, 3, 2. It could stop their field for a turn from attacking, but it doesn't really help me if they have so many blockers that even if I Sorai them, that I won't be able to close the game out. So, it just makes sense for DeathX. You can get rid of your opponent's swarm field. So DeathX is still honestly the way to go. Second round, I was playing against Blue Hybrid. And then, just getting the rookies out pretty early, pretty quickly, and my opponent, they just dropped Zudamon Ace for 4, put me at 1. So I was like, oh, cool. that is a really great move. They just bounce one of my Digimons to a hand, so as the Jamming Vmon goes to hand, and then, I'm just like trying to rush the field again, so I'm just like building up, getting Ukomon out, getting Vmon out, and then they go from Zudomon Ace to Azulongmon, and then they just strip all my sources entirely, gain enough memory, and then they swing at my security for 4 checks. Oh, okay, cool. So I have 3 Digimon without sources out. They swing for 4 checks to gain 3 memory. It's just like, okay, cool. I'm facing lethal next turn, and my last card was actually a DeathXmon. So then when they swung at me with the Azulongmon, they got overflow. So, they didn't have enough memory to go into a hybrid and then attack. So they just sadly had to pass turn to me or give me some memory for whatever. And then I just was able to win. So DeathXmon, really great card when you drop it from hand to delete your opponent's field. But also very great 15,000 DP in security. It basically served the same function as Megadeth. If your opponent is 15,000 or lower DP and it hits a DeathXmon security, it will be deleted, most likely. If you have a Megadeth, then the benefit would be able to bounce that Digimon to hand or bounce a different Digimon to hand, or even just like suspend something and then bounce that Digimon to hand. But, I just prefer the versatility of having DeathXmon. So Megadeth is very nice in security, but DeathXmon, most of the time, if it's in your hand, you will be able to play it very cheaply. So it will be able to slow your opponent down while also being a large 15,000 DP Digimon that will be able to also aggro. And then my third match was against BlackWarGreymon. It was actually pretty good, pretty close. This was a match that I lost in. So if I remember, round 3, game 1, I won. I had 3 promo Davises, 1 Davis and Ken, 2 of the Louis. So every time I promoted, I would gain 2 memory from Louis, and then 3 memory from Davis promo for having a free Digimon out, and then 1 from Davis and Ken for having a blue or Digimon out. So I would gain 6 memory. But if I didn't promote, then I would just gain 4 for having a free Digimon out and then having a blue Digimon out. So, I was just, if my opponent set me to 1 because I did not have a memory setter, I would just go to 5. Or if they set me to 2, I would just go to 6. So it's just like an insane amount of memory. So I was just being able to easily work my way around the deck. The game that I lost, so actually my opponent had 1 DeathXmon copy in their deck. So since the deck just focuses on spamming Tamers and spamming Digimon out, my opponent was able to DeathX for 2 memory. So I was choking them at 1, and then they DeathX for 2, so they choked me at 1, blew up my whole board. So it was like, oh, okay. Well, there's not really much going back from this. I actually made a misplay. They had a DeathX, they had like their BlackWarGreymon build, and then they had a Tamer. So I was like, oh, cool. Let's DeathXmon for 11. And then this was my mistake. I forgot that, their BlackWarGreymon build was still on the field. So I attempted to delete that. They saved it, and then end of my turn, their DeathX killed my DeathX. So I just scooped that game. Because we're running out of time, so I just want to go to game 3. Game 3, I don't really remember too much of what happened, but I think that they just had a bunch of blockers. They had the raid Digimon out, so they would raid, and then I would Armor Purge, but then the raid BlackWarGreymon would unsuspend because an attack target would switch. It would swing at security, so my Armor Purge was useless. I did have DeathXmons, but I think they kept getting removed or something. But yeah, this deck is fun. I would say that the main weakness of this deck is that when you play a Louis from hand and you promote out, now you are 1 card less in hand. Or if you play a Davis and you play a Vmon, then you are 2 cards less in hand. So that is kind of a weakness, but it is mitigated just because of the sheer amount of draw power that you have in this deck. But the other weakness is that because you're spamming so many Tamers and so many rookies, that if your opponent has a DefX and they play DefX, then there's very little they can do to recover from that. So, yeah. This was my experience with the deck. I honestly love DefX so much in this deck. It does what this deck really needs. It gives this deck an out against certain boss Digimon or against swarm decks. So if you're playing against Bloomlord, or if you're playing against Jesmon, or even against an Uko Mirror, if they don't have a Psychmon, or if they don't have a Solarmon or Chikurimon, then you can just play DefX. The thing about Lydramon is that even if they do have a Psychmon, or if they have a Solarmon or Chikurimon, you can then go into Lydramon, suspend their rookie, swing over the rookie, and then DeathXmon. So this is, I still think this deck is pretty well-rounded. This is basically the end version of this deck for me. If I can think of something else, then I will add it in. Maybe I want a Zunamon Ace. Maybe I want to swap out a Louis or a Davis for another Chimeramon or Megadeth, or maybe 2 Megadeths. But, this is very close to the end product for me. I just love the deck as it is right now. The DefX adds so much value. It gives you an out against decks. You can use it for aggro. Oh, so I hear people complain about this all the time. They don't like playing DefX because you can't search for it. So they're like, oh yeah, running DefX hurts the deck because you can't search for it. But honestly, if I ran 3 Fire Rockets or 2 Armor Textures, I couldn't search for it anyways. Same thing with Chimeramon. You can't really search for it, but you will just have to rely on drawing it regularly. But I don't think that a good argument is that if you can't search for it, it's not good for the deck. DeathXmon is just great. It gives you an out, which is great. If you are facing lethal, basically anything to avoid lethal is great. It's a great play. So if you are facing lethal, DeathXmon is, probably the best answer that you can respond with. Or even if you aren't really facing lethal, even if you just want to remove some of your opponent's tempo so that you can aggro them down before they aggro you down, DeathXmon is just a great answer for that. I do understand that DeathXmon is not searchable. That's why I'm playing 4. 4 DeathXmons means that the chances that you will actually draw at least 1 DeathXmon is greater. If it's insecurity, no big deal. It's just a 15,000 DP Digimon waiting to be struck in security, which is also very bad for your opponent. So it's great in security. It's great in your hand. So just running 4, you might draw extra copies of DefX, and that's not too terrible either. You can just DefX and another DefX. I actually did that tonight. I don't remember how many games, but I definitely did it. But yeah, 4 DefX. I think that it is the answer to most of this deck's problems. So honestly, the card is understandably expensive until we get like the LMO2 set. But if you don't really want to run DefX, or if you don't have the means to play for DefXmon, I would try the earlier build that I used. So 3 Fire Rockets, 2 Armor Textures instead of the 4 DefX and the Chimera. Or, even if you have the Chimera, you can use, instead of 4 DefX and 1 Chimera, you can use 2 Chimera and maybe 3 Megadefs, for example, or 2 Megadefs. But I would say that the cards they can splash in for the missing DeathXmons, or if you want to remove a Louis or a Davis, so basically the flex cards, I would say you can run Chimeramons, you can run Fire Rockets, Armor Textures, you can run Zudamon Ace, or you can run Megadeth. Those are the cards that I would recommend. There might be some other removal options I'm forgetting, but I would say run DefX if you have it. If not, then look at other flex options. Those are my suggestions. But yeah, this is a very great deck. Fantastic, even. If your opponent has a Floodgate to prevent you from playing DeathXmon, that's not too big, because you can Lydramon get over their Floodgate, or you can just alternatively rush them down before it even matters if you get the DefX out or not. So yeah, this deck, very rush down heavy. The Ukamon and Louis provide support. The DefX acts as a countermeasure against other decks that will block you out or are aiming to rush you down quicker. So I think that this is just really well rounded. Yeah, I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching my updated deck profile video. And again, timestamps in the description. So yeah, I will see you all later.